Friday. It's a cold and dreary day, and Halloween is only 2 weeks away. So I wanted to get us in the mood for Halloween with some not too scary Halloween stories. So let's get started. Poultrygeist. Rudy and his best friend Ralph were two rowdy young roosters. They weren't loud on purpose, but there was so much to crow about, each trying to be the first and the loudest to crow at the sunrise each morning. Then they had contests all day long to decide who was the strongest or the biggest or the loudest. Finally, at sundown, they wrestled each other for the highest roost in the barn. Most of the other farm animals didn't mind the racket. They were rather noisy themselves and barely noticed Rudy and Ralph. The only ones who complained were Sophie the pig and Clarissa the cow. "I need peace and quiet to make my milk," Clarissa mooed. "But Clarissa," Rudy said, "you give milk every day, no matter how loud we are." "You're keeping me awake every night," Sophie grunted. "I need my beauty sleep." "Can't argue with that one," Ralph whispered to Rudy. It was 2 days before Halloween, time to make costumes for the Halloween poultry parade. This caused even more commotion than usual. "I'm losing my patience with this uproar," Clarissa bellowed. "Me too," snorted Sophie, and the two of them went off in a huff. "What old grumps," Ralph said. "They can't remember what it's like to have fun. I bet they were never young at all." Rudy felt sorry about bothering Clarissa and Sophie. He tried to be quiet the whole next day, but when the animals gathered in the barn that night to finish their Halloween costumes, he got caught up in the excitement and added his voice to the squawking. Suddenly a huge figure rose up from the barn, its head almost touching the highest roost. Rudy had never seen a creature so tall. The monster let out a moan as it lurched forward. The animals tumbled out of the barn in a flurry of feathers. They ran until they reached the top of the hill. Clarissa and Sophie were the slowest runners and the last to arrive. Both were out of breath. "What was that thing?" Rudy asked. "It was a ghost. It was the Poultrygeist," Clarissa gasped. "The legend says that the Poultrygeist has been sleeping for 100 years. I'm afraid you woke it up with your noise." Nobody dared go back into the barn that night. When the sun rose the next morning, Rudy and Ralph held each other's beaks closed to keep from crowing. It wasn't easy. "Did you see that?" Rudy asked. When he finally let go of his beak, the sun came up without us crowing into the sky. "Don't tell anybody," Ralph said. "We'll be out of a job." Everybody stayed out of the barn that day. They even held the Halloween poultry parade outside, which was fun because the costumes looked scarier in the dark. But as the night went on, it got colder and colder. One by one, the shivering animals slipped back inside the haunted barn. Ralph and Rudy were the last ones outside. "My drumsticks have turned to popsicles," Rudy said, and his beak chattering. "Let's go in." Inside the barn, only sound was snoring. There was no sign of the Poultrygeist. "Let's pick our roost. Only 2 left." Ralph scanned the rafters looking for the Poultrygeist. "You take the high roost. I'll use the low one next to the door." No, you should have the high roost, Ralph. After all, you're taller than me." "I am not," Ralph said. "Look, you're slouching," Rudy shouted. Ralph dropped his feathers. "You should have the top roost because you're much more handsomer than me." "No, I'm ugly," Rudy crowed. "Look, get up on that roof," Ralph hollered. "No, you get up there," Rudy screamed. The 2 roosters rolled around on the floor, feathers flying, when suddenly a shadow fell over them. A very tall shadow. "Boo!" howled the Poultrygeist. There was a great flapping and squawking as the animals fled to safety. But Ralph and Rudy were trapped in a corner. "Yikes! This is it, buddy. We're going to the big roost in the sky." "Don't give up. We can escape." Rudy grabbed his friend and tried to run around the Poultrygeist, but instead the 2 roosters smacked right into it. And it didn't feel all clammy and ghost-like. Instead, it felt like feed stacks, Rudy cried. "The Poultrygeist is nothing but a bunch of feed sacks all sewn together." "Can't be." But Ralph gave a tug on the sacks, and there stood Sophie and Clarissa. "Boo!" Clarissa mooed, her eyes closed. "Enough with the ghost talk. We've been unmasked," Sophie said. "Awesome Halloween costume," Ralph said. "You sure had us fooled." "They weren't fooling. They wanted us to be scared into being quiet, said Rudy. Bingo, Sophie said. What gave you the first clue? I don't get it, Ralph said. I was trying hard to be quiet. Well, not hard enough, Clarissa said. Later, the two roosters were alone. Ralph said, I wasn't really afraid of the Poultrygeist, you know. Are you kidding, Rudy squawked. You were so scared you almost choked on your gizzard. Did not, did too. Did not, did too. Said Sophie. There's more than one way to quiet a pair of rowdy roosters. So she sat on them both. And the two rowdy roosters remembered that lesson for a long time. The end. Fright Club. It was the night before Halloween when Vladimir called one last Fright Club meeting to go over Operation Kitty Scare. Quiet, everyone, quiet. We have a lot to do. The 3 traits of highly successful monsters. Ghoulish faces, scary moves, chilling sounds. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Vladimir peered out the peephole. Oh, look, an adorable little bunny. The bunny had no time for small talk. May I join Fright Club? You? In Fright Club? That is such a cute idea. But I'm afraid Fright Club is only for monsters. Now shoo! And the bunny hopped away. Vladimir got back to business. Now, where were we? Oh, yes. Who's been practicing their ghoulish faces? Blah, blah, went Virginia. Went Sandy. Wowza, 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 went Fran. Vladimir just shook his head. Those faces wouldn't scare at Daddy Longlegs. Why haven't you been practicing? I've been practicing. Everyone gathered around Mumford. 1, 2, 3, pop! That's boring. Then there was another knock, knock, knock at the door. What do you want? My name is Francis Fox, public attorney. My client states that you denied her inclusion into your so-called Fright Club. That's because Fright Club is for monsters only. Why? Because only monsters are frightening? Of course, that's exactly why. Goodbye. Vladimir tried to refocus. Does anyone have any scary moves? Oh, I do, yeah, me. The monsters definitely had some scary moves, but not in the way Vladimir had hoped. Bam, 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 went the door. Hiss, moan, boo, we can scare too. Hiss, moan, boo, we can scare too. Vladimir slammed the door behind him. What are we going to do? Nothing. If you ignore the little critters, they will eventually go away. But the critters did not go away. Moan, cackle, 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 woo, blah, blah, blah. Now may I join Fright Club? Yeah, me too, and me. Bzz. Yes. Turns out, not only monsters make ghoulish faces. Grr, grr. Scary moves. Whoosh, whoosh. And chilling sounds. And when it comes time to scaring, the more the merrier. So when Halloween arrived, Fright Club was ready. Vladimir was sure that Operation Kitty Scare wouldn't just be good. It would be scary good. The end. Well, I hope those stories weren't too scary. Next week, we'll have another Craftivity Friday, and we'll make it a mini Halloween party for 1 or 2 or 3 or however many people you're with. And the week after that, we'll have some real spooky stories because it'll be the day before Halloween. And until then, wash your hands, wear your face mask, not your Halloween mask, social distance, and happy Friday.